Hello, my name is Khalid and this is the Onyx Boox Poke for Lite. It's an entry-level Android e-reader for around $150 and we're checking out what works well, what's not so great, and if this is the right choice for you. Let's first have a look at the build. The Boox Poke for Lite is a compact 6-inch e-reader. On both sides and at the top the bezels are pretty small. On the bottom you have the grip area, which is naturally a bit taller. It uses a soft touch material all around, which is comfortable to the touch. Even though it's super lightweight at around 150 grams, it feels very high quality. The whole e-reader feels dense, if that makes sense. You never have the feeling you hold a cheap device in your hand. But then again, it's not cheap at all. Because with a price of around 150 euros, it's in Kindle Paperwhite territory, which you can actually get much cheaper with all the sales promotions happening all the time. What I find a bit fishy is the specification of the internal memory. The box tells me it has 16 gigs of internal non-expandable memory, but when getting it out of the box, only 7.1 gigs are available to me, and there seems to be no way to free up more of that space, at least I couldn't find one. I get that the operating system takes up a bit of space, and all manufacturers list the full memory capacity, which is not equal to that you can access in the end. But missing out on more than 50% of the promised memory is a bit much in my opinion. So that's something to keep in mind. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are available for wireless connectivity. You can connect your Bluetooth headphones and speakers to listen to music, audiobooks, or use the text-to-speech function. The Onyx Boox Poke for Lite has a 6-inch E-Ink Carta display with a pixel density of 212 ppi. That means it has a resolution of 1024 x 758 pixels, which was the go-to resolution e-readers had for quite some time a few years ago. Text is not as crisp as on most other e-readers, which typically have 300 ppi, but to be honest, the difference is not that big. Sure, you can see the pixels when you hold the device real close, but when holding it at a normal reading distance, I doubt you will notice the lower resolution without having another device to directly compare it to. Contrast levels are what to be expected from E-Ink Carta. The Boox Poke for Lite also has an inbuilt front light with color temperature adjustment. The 11 LEDs are located at the bottom of the screen. There's a bit of a brightness gradient visible, especially at the top of the display when turning on the bluish-white LEDs. The effect is a bit subtler when using the orange LEDs in my opinion. When adjusting the brightness for the ambient light and dialing it down a bit, the gradient becomes less obvious and didn't bother me. The light can be set super bright at around 250 nits, brighter than most other e-readers you can get. And the lowest brightness is still low enough so you not get blinded in the dark. So readability is very good in all situations. However, what I don't get, to be honest, is the icon's choice for adjusting the inbuilt light. With the sun symbol you turn up the orange LEDs and with the moon symbol you turn up the white LEDs. That should be the other way around in my opinion. The Poke for Lite has a capacitive touchscreen which generally works well, but occasionally didn't respond to my inputs. I suspect that this is a software issue rather than a hardware problem. It was annoying either way and did happen often enough that I wanted to include it in this review. Let's talk about the software. The Onyx Boox Poke for Lite uses a customized version of Android 11, which means you can install Android apps. The inbuilt store, however, is not super confidence-inspiring, as it has a disclaimer when opening it first that says we do not verify the integrity and the safety of the provided apps, and a bit more. The Google Play Store can be activated in the settings, however, which is the better choice when getting apps anyway. However, one thing I already mentioned in length in the Onyx Boox Note Air 2 Plus review is the calling home situation of Onyx Boox devices. The Poke 4 is no exception. What do I mean by that? All smart devices are connecting to servers on the internet on a regular basis. Your phone, tablet, etc. do this all the time. Besides Google, the Boox devices also connect to Chinese servers, and for me personally it's not clear for what purpose. So I'm careful as not to use my main accounts on any of the Boox devices. That might be a bit excessive to some, but data privacy is important in my opinion. However, to be completely fair, when first starting up the device, you have to actually agree to a privacy policy. Onyx states that they adhere to the GDPR, which is the privacy protection law in the EU. So while I feel better that there is actually a privacy policy for some international markets in place, the discussions on Reddit and other platforms still make me a bit nervous in using sensitive data on the device. Blocking traffic with a VPN app like NetGuard or a firewall after rooting the device can be useful if you have the same concerns as I do. Android itself was customized very well by Onyx, which means general usability is good and doesn't look any worse than the UI of Kindle or Nook. However, in my opinion, it's not as intuitive and self-explanatory. Even after using it for a while, you will find functions and features which you haven't used before, because many items are not labeled. The library is clearly arranged with quite a few options available to filter and sort books on the device. Inside a book you have lots of options to customize text styling, although I wish they would have optimized them a bit better for Western markets. There are a few options available for Asian languages which I personally don't need, and which can be hidden and simply take up space. You can create notes after selecting text and just pin the note to that selection. The dictionary function takes a bit more work to make it usable, because first you have to download and install the dictionaries within the app, but the selection is rather limited. That means you might need to sideload compatible dictionaries yourself, or you use the online translation services from Bing, Google, Baidu, or look up explanations on the Wiktionary. All these options are available with a few clicks from within the reading app. The PDF viewer on Onyx Boox devices is the best you can get on any E-Ink device in my opinion. Even on the small 6-inch Poke 4 Lite display, the available options help tremendously in reading even large PDFs. The lower screen resolution of 212 ppi can be a bit of a problem if the initial text size of the PDF is very small. Depending on how much you can zoom in and still being able to reasonably navigate on the document, the text can look a bit pixelated. The modes themselves include a comics mode and a columns mode. Both switch through parts of the zoomed in page in a preset order, so you don't need to move the viewing board around manually. Those modes work extremely well. Responsiveness is also very good thanks to the quad-core CPU and 2 GB of RAM. So even large and complex PDF files can be opened without any problems. The inbuilt store, on the other hand, is not something I would rely on for getting books, because it's basically just a collection of free public domain titles and doesn't include contemporary literature. So to get the books you like, you will either need to sideload them or use the Android app of the bookseller of your choice. My experience with the Onyx Boox Poke for Lite is okay. The biggest issue I have with the e-reader is the internal memory. Out of 16 gigs advertised on the box, only a little over 7 gigs are actually usable. Honestly, that sucks. The privacy situation might be mainly a problem with my own preferences, but it's still something to keep in mind. And the touchscreen occasionally not responding can be a pain in the butt. The things I really did like about the Poke 4 Lite are the great build quality, the lightweight, Android expandability, and the fact that it has color temperature adjustment even though it's aimed at the entry-level segment. However, for around $150 you can also get a Kindle Paperwhite, which offers more value for your money in my opinion. Like the newer E-Ink Carta 1200 screen, a larger flush 6.8-inch display, water resistance, and a more uniform front light. But then of course you're a bit limited to Amazon as the bookseller and can't install Android apps, which is the main selling point of the Boox Poke 4 Lite. So is the Onyx Boox Poke 4 Lite a good choice? It depends on where you want to get your books from, which file types you open the most, and mainly if you want to use Android on the device. I'd really appreciate it if you like this video and subscribe to the channel to help out with the YouTube algorithm. It just takes a second and is free, but would help me out tremendously. Thanks for your time and see you in the next one.